Welcome everyone, and we're gonna get started with introducing who I am. I'm the Executive Director here at Hub Cycling, and we do education action events to get more people cycling more often here in Metro Vancouver. We're very excited to do this research report showcase today and to have Arthur here with us as well. Bear with us as we haven't done very many webinars before, so feel free to add in any chat messages so Jennifer can help this go really smoothly. I'm going to start us off with the presentation. So lots of attention has been given to cycling in Vancouver, but most of it is for the journey. What happens at the end of bike trips? Well, Hub Cycling's completed research with the local development industry to better understand how to improve design of cycling end of trips facilities, which is certainly not just bike racks. So as I mentioned, Hub Cycling is a charitable nonprofit. We've been around since 1998, getting more people cycling more often through action, education, and events. We'd love to stay connected with you for any of those reasons, so please do feel free to reach out to us after the webinar about not just this research, but any of the other components of what we do. So why does cycling matter anyhow? Well, cycling is the fastest growing mode of transportation in the region, and we know from some Vancouver specific data that we're now up to 10% of bike to work mode share by bicycle, which is the largest in North America. So we know that cycling is growing. We know that there's demand for more as well. When TransLink did research, they understood that 41% of the people in Metro Vancouver are interested in cycling more, but they're concerned for some reason or something's holding them back. And so we know that end-of-trip cycling facilities can be one of those things holding them back. We know that more people cycling has a lot of benefits: less overcrowded transit routes, and less traffic congestion means better quality of life and can make things more attractive for tenants of both residential and commercial buildings. We know that 2/3 of trips in the region are less than 8 kilometers, which is a comfortable cycling distance. So trying to get more people cycle more, amenities are desirable. How can we get there? We wanted to know what exactly was holding people back with some of the end-of-trip facilities. And when we asked people in our research and looking at some of the other research out there, words like removed, secluded corner of parkade, dark and hidden, nuisance, cumbersome, overflowing, fire risk, huge deterrent. So this is clearly an issue for people, and it's holding some of them back from cycling more and certainly being more comfortable about doing it. And here's a summary of the most common complaints about Class A residential bike parking, and Class A being the indoor secure bike parking for the residents themselves. I won't go into detail on this because you can go into the report and read all sorts of the detail on this, but bicycle parking being over capacity or must store a bicycle in living unit, bicycle parts being stolen or bicycles themselves being stolen are just a few of the top ones. So people have quite a few complaints about what's happening currently in their residential bike parking. So Vancouver's quickly become North America's top cycling city in many ways, but what happens at the end of a bike trip is as important as what's going on out on the streets. So we're aiming to get people a good place to keep their bikes and their gear and transition smoothly to whatever is next in their day. So the research questions that we asked were to the development community, and how could changes be made to policies or regulations in new residential and commercial buildings to improve cycling end-of-trip facilities, and what information could be provided to better achieve this. So we sent a survey out to 3,600 contacts, including developers, planners, architects, engineers, and local government staff. And you can see the respondent demographics here. We're also interested to know today who's on the webinar and what kind of roles you play. So I'm going to do a quick poll to ask you what your role is. So I'll just launch that now, and hopefully you'll be able to see that pop up. Great, lots of people are voting. And I'll just give you 5 more seconds if you're still looking through those. I'm seeing quite a strong split. I'll share these results with you. Okay. So you can see we've got a few developers and architects, a strong showing from municipal staff, a few advocates, and then 43% other. Do feel free to let us know in the chat box what you are if you categorized yourself as other. We'd be curious to know. Great. So next I want to show a snapshot of the region. Now, the research that we did was focused mostly on the city of Vancouver because of the funding sources for the paper, but we did get a quick look at the region, and we hope to do further research that applies everywhere in Metro Vancouver. So this map overviews the existing requirements for each municipality, showing a lot of variation between them. Municipal bylaws are very powerful in terms of getting a basic level of cycling end-of-trip facility, and we recommend that all municipalities introduce or improve their bylaws to support the goals that many of them have to provide better transportation options and specifically encourage active transportation in their communities. So just to take a quick look here, we can see that places like District of North Vancouver, West Vancouver, Langley Township, and Delta actually have 0 requirements currently in place. So those are particularly high priority places to look at that. I know some of them are investigating it, so we're very pleased to hear that, and we would be happy to chat with you more about that. And let us know if you have any questions about those differences. So we did take that look at kind of minimum requirements, and it's very important to have those minimum requirements. Our research mainly looked at how we can go above and beyond those minimum requirements. So let's dig in more to that. When we look at commercial buildings, specifically here are a few things that can be added. Bike repair spaces and tools that are shared, additional secure bike parking beyond the minimums, extra change room features such as clothes dryers, ventilated lockers, hair dryers, and towel service all help people that are cycling to feel comfortable once they arrive at work. When we look at specifically residential buildings, again, bike repair spaces are very helpful. They can also be multi-purpose. So because people are living there, perhaps it's also a regular workshop and people can do woodworking or they can fix appliances or whatever they feel like doing. It can be a multi-use space. A bike wash station, in-unit or near-unit bike storage, extra durable wall and floor finishes, automatic doors, and wider aisles, so it's easy to get bikes in and out of the areas where they need to go, and storage for cargo bikes or trailers that helps things be more family friendly for people that want to get out there on their bikes with their kids and or with their parents or other folks that may have different types of bikes. And then looking at a few that cross over between commercial and residential, bike-related information or programming shouldn't be overlooked, so it's not always just physical, such as workshops or on-site mechanic visits can really help people get those services and then also understand where some of the physical amenities are. Sometimes people move into buildings and never know where they are. Robotic or automated bike parking systems have been brought up, internal or public bike sharing stations, either inside or just outside of buildings, outdoor bike parking for visitors that have enhanced weather protection, lighting, or security features, so people feel safe leaving their bike outside for an hour or two, and designing for more than the minimum number of bicycles. So we know that we've got some new case studies highlighting the best of Vancouver's bike parking and end-of-trip facilities, and we would encourage neighboring cities to steal these good ideas. So here's an example that we looked into. Blue Sky from BOSA here in Vancouver provides a bike repair room that doubles as a woodworking shop and is available for all types of projects and community building. There's bike sharing, a bike wash, and extra bike lockers. And I'm not going to go into detail about this, but this is a piece taken straight out of the report. So when you take a look at that later, you can read into all of the interesting details behind it. Next up, we've got Canvas by Ani, where they provide a workshop space as well for bicycle repairs and permanent bike stands with tools, which is a really important piece. We often hear people held back because they have a flat tire, and if they live in a multifamily building, then they just don't have space for some of those larger tools, for example. When we look at commercial buildings, Oxford Place on West Hastings has gone above and beyond with their executive bike rooms. They provide not just the required bike facilities, but options such as individual wood panel lockers for bikes and clothing, welcoming showers and change rooms that include clothes dryers and clothes hanging areas. And their tenants really love it. Not only are they willing to pay for some of those additional features, but the facilities are in very high demand, and they've recently made renovations and improvements to them. Vancity Credit Union is another good example, a good commercial building role model. This one was more of a retrofit, along with having upgraded their physical facility. They also provide employee incentives, reimbursing them for up to $500 for a new bike or $1,000 for a new electric assist bike if they're going to use it to ride to work. And then they also have rebates for bike maintenance and equipment, frequent workplace cycling workshops provided by Hub Cycling, and they sponsor Bike to Work Week and host celebration stations, all of which are softer side to complement their physical design and get more people riding. So this project is in progress. The Smythe development will have a bike repair room, automatic doors, all horizontal bike racks, wide aisles, and they also worked with the city to refine a proposal that included a dedicated bike lobby and elevator, which is designed to allow two cyclists to enter and exit without repositioning their bikes. It also has monitors that show the bike parking area on P6, which allows people to see if anyone else is in that area and make them feel a bit more secure about it. Some of the benefits of the dedicated entry are having people with bikes separated from car traffic, the avoidance of steep parkade ramps necessitated by the small site that the building is on, and the bike-friendly design features they were able to create because there was greater space afforded to them on P6. So here are some policy change possibilities that we identified in the research when we talked to developers and other folks in the field. They were looking for more flexibility on the location of bike parking. They were looking for high density or double racks in bike rooms without special permission, allowing greater flexibility to provide different types of cycling amenities that might be more meaningful in the specific building context. These could include things like facilities that would better serve preferences of buyers and tenants with higher end bikes, or including cycling amenities as part of a more family-friendly, high-density housing. Excluding above-grade bike parking and amenity space from FSR calculations, conducting more post-occupancy evaluations, profiling the growing market segment so that the industry can better understand what demand is out there, integrating cycling amenities with other building features and making better connections with public spaces, and filling information gaps at the earliest stages of design process, including best practices. So there's some outtakes here of their research results, where we asked industry professionals what they would support in terms of potential policy changes. So again, I won't go into all the details of this, but the report has it there for you. The vast majority of respondents supported or strongly supported flexible indoor bike parking locations and the exclusion of bike storage from FSR calculations. Strong support was also given for higher density bike racks. Vertical racks can help achieve this, but are not particularly friendly to all ages and abilities or to all types of bikes. Hub cycling prefers horizontal racks that can be alternating heights or leaned to stack. Then still supported, but less so than previous policy examples, was relaxing vehicle parking requirements and adding flexibility on shower and change requirements in commercial buildings. In terms of the need for better information, highly supported areas were city provision of clear and easy processes to exceed minimum requirements, and more information about what's been successful in other projects. These are two areas we'd like to do further work, but we are looking for collaboration and support for a phase 2 of this project. I'll talk a little bit more about that near the end of my presentation here. When we looked at post-occupancy evaluations and graphic formatted design guidelines, these were also well supported. And better information on optional cycling amenities and higher quality bike parking could also improve the chances of better design. As this chart shows, with all of the policies and information listed, early in the process is the best possible time to get those integrated into a bike-friendly building. And the efficiency for time and cost are best at the beginning, when design teams can benefit the most from receiving that information from municipalities and consulting with specialists on how best to serve users. Developers, architects, designers, and municipal staff can all make moves to earlier integration and benefit from this. So overall, our findings are showing an information gap for achieving better than the minimum. Starting early saves big and produces the best results. And designers are seeking opportunities for innovation. So to move this forward, some of the future research opportunities are listed here. We hope that this has been helpful to get a first glimpse into the demand for better end-of-trip cycling amenities, as we know that designers are looking for ways to improve and differentiate their work. We would love to dig in deeper here to develop best practice guidelines for design and examples in a graphic format for use by the development community in Metro Vancouver, which could include even a specific start-to-finish case study documenting a local project's full project life cycle. So if you are interested in being part of future research, do let me know. You can view the full report online here at bikehub.ca/amenities. And I want to make sure to thank the sponsors of this project, without whom this would not have been possible. The full research report link is right here, and we're always open to hearing your feedback or ideas. So if you're interested in being part of the next phase, be in touch. I'm at erin@bikehub.ca. So don't hesitate to be in touch with questions, ideas, or examples from where you're at. Up next is a great example of a local organization that revamped their building to include exemplary cycling end-of-trip facilities. I'm so glad that Arthur Orsini could join us today to go into more details. So now I'm going to hand it over to Arthur to say hello.
Okay, I'm saying hello. And here's my screen. Am I on?
You sure are.
Okay, so this is me, but I'm going to turn my video off and show this presentation. So the one example that we're looking at here is at the Vancouver General Hospital. The old laundry building became a cycling center. To begin, I want to say that the cycling center is a large facility on the hospital, but it's not the only one. There are bike racks all around the campus, and there are a couple of bike cages. And also on the hospital campus, there are a number of research institutes, and pretty much each of those has a bike room. So this is simply one of many options at hospital for staff. And I will say that this is not open to the public, it is for staff. So if any of the health institutes, the different health authorities, and UBC medical students. So this is a shot of what it looks like from the outside on 10th Avenue. It's right along the bikeway. And just in terms of my presentation, I've got a lot of slides that I'm going to go through fast. And wherever you see a blue circle, this is like, look here. I'm drawing your attention because I don't have a pointer. And a red circle is things that have changed or things that I would change. So as you're doing this and you have the hindsight that we didn't have at the start, I want to show you those things. So at this picture, we are right on grade level. The cyclist enters from the 10th Avenue bikeway. So there's no driving through traffic. There is no driving through parquet to get to it, which is very common otherwise. This is a map of what the bike room, the cycling center looks like. And 10th Avenue is along the top. So the top is north, and there's two doors, one for entering and exiting. And simply the way it was organized, there's a pink area that is the entry access, and there's the grayish-blue area, which is the bike storage. Off to the left is a bike repair room. This is the footprint of the laundry room building that we were working with. We didn't build any of the walls. This is just what was there. We just worked with. Over on the right side, there's a lounge, which had been there, and then there are change rooms for women and men. And the women's change room is much larger. That reflects the gender breakdown in the health authority. More women work there. The cycling center has, of course, the whole purpose behind it is a place to store your bike, shower, store your gear. We also have tools and such for repair, but also courses, workshops and training so people can improve their skills as we continue to bike. But also it's a place, unlike a bike cage, it's a place for a community. So it is a place to network, gather, and to have different events coming forward. And that's how I'll end this presentation, by talking about some of those events. It's run by a steering committee of hospital employees and volunteers. So the entrance area, as I showed you, it's right off 10th Avenue, and it is on grade. The first circle at the top is a sign that says Cycling Center. When we were planning this out, there was a decision of, should we announce to the world this is a cycling center, or should we tell people there's going to be bikes here, or should we try to subvert that? And the decision, to deter theft. The decision, obviously, here was to put that sign up. It was not a difficult decision. There was a couple of examples of other places that we found that did announce what it was. But it also declares that Vancouver Coastal Health is a strong supporter of cycling facilities and in improving that element for staff. The red circle below is, there's been suggestion that we could have painted something along the sidewalk that shows this is a bike entry and egress. And so when you're on the streets and you see the green bike boxes that tells vehicles that this is where they're crossing with the bike, was a suggestion. What I've learned is if it's not done in the capital plan, it's very difficult to have it done afterwards. But when I did show you a couple of slides ago, and I said cyclists do not have to cross paths with vehicles, they do have to cross paths with pedestrians. So there's a little bit of cycling on the sidewalk there. So this would have been useful, and that's something that's in the books that I've asked about, but it's not happening right away. This is an older photograph of it, and the red circle is around a bike stand and a bike pump. We had ordered an extra set of bike pump and stand that was on the outside because, again, we're announcing that we support cycling for the whole community, and if anyone on 10th Avenue wants to use it. However, it does give reason for someone to loiter, and there was one time, November 2015, 14 actually, where someone was there and waited for the door to be left open a little bit longer than necessary and stuck in the bike. So that was moved. That's no longer there. That's why the earlier picture didn't show. I'm just going to back up. It's not there. So this is the old version. On the whole facet of entry, this is the most recent sign that we've come up with. I've had a few versions of this, and this came from one of the members. So, of course, we are polite people. We hold the door for people. We expect that, in general, is a level of politeness. It is contrary to the security of our bikes. Please do not let anyone enter in on your bike. It's pretty good. And with an automated door, the door is open for 12 seconds. And when I introduce new people to the cycling center, I'll say 12 seconds can feel like a very long time, but please be attentive and do not let anyone else come in off your swipe, because you enter it with your hospital ID swipe card. So now you can see that there's a ramp to the left. We're sort of basically going to walk through the cycling center, and I'm going to show you what's going on. When you enter, there's a box of Kleenex. This is very much appreciated, and I'm very conscious of having a supply of Kleenex in the lounge so that if it's empty, somebody else can fill it up. The ramp that we just came down at the top, you can see that there's a video monitor. There are 5 cameras in the cycling center for security, and in that blue circle you can see the camera that looks outside. So if you are working late at night, because it's a 24-hour facility, and if you're leaving and want to see what's going on, well, then you can. Also in that circle is one of the cameras. There's cameras all across there. It's not everywhere. There's 5 of them total. None in the changers. And there's a close-up of that camera. Looking back to the door we came in, there's a few things here. The smallest blue circle, security rounds, check-in station, there's not much, but there's a little dot there. And really what that signifies for you to see is that security has put this in the rounds. So as the security staff make the rounds across the hospital campus, this is one of the places where they come in. And so that makes for very regular monitoring of the place, which is, it looks good from the outside to see security guards coming in and out, and staff who are using it are happy to see that the security guards come through. Beside it are the cycling center house rules, and you can't read it from this slide, but if you ever want to know about it, like from the first slide. In the red box, one of the things that I would have liked to have done, but we can't do now, not easily, is to put a one of those tracks so that people can wheel their bikes up the stairs if they don't want to go all the way down the ramp to the other side. At the bottom of the ramp, we have designated space for chariots and longer bikes. So something with a cargo bike for the child carrier in the back. And we've done this because from the place that this picture's been taken from, I would have just come down the ramp and I make one 90-degree turn and I go straight ahead. So I don't have to maneuver across a lot of other areas. And so this is a close-up of that. So it says child carrier parking. And then you'll see the red circle. So I'm going to back up. Initially, what we did was we had to put in 12 bike plugs for electric bikes. And we said, well, let's put them there. In retrospect, I would have put them anywhere except that, because this is now our conflict mix of chariot bikes and or electric bikes, which we don't have a lot of, but we have space for it. The way our bike racks have been installed, they are alternating high and low so that we can fit them in closer so that the handlebars don't cross over. We have 8 bike lockers inside the facility, and they have been used and continually used throughout the whole time. So 8 was as much as we could fit. There has not been a lot more, so actually we were quite fortunate with that number. The total number of bikes, which I haven't mentioned, is 182 that fit in this facility. Around the room, we have what we're calling bike lock storage bars, and this is so that people do not have to keep their locks on the racks if they don't want to take them. And as you can see, there's a lot of people who don't take their bike lock home, and so there are places for it all around the room. You can see another one here. On the left, there's a bike lock that's circled around it. That's a loaner lock. In fact, we have 2 of them. So if people need a lock for whatever reason, because they don't have it or they forgot it or they forgot their key, there are loaner locks there, and the keys are available for people to use. On the change room door, because it has 24-hour access, the change rooms are also swipe card access. So when someone signs up, they are only signed up for one of the change rooms. And that is, again, if you're having a shower late at night, if you're a guy having a shower late at night, you don't have to worry that you're going to come in and interrupt your shower. Speaking of showers, so this is the men's shower. On the left is how it was originally built, and you can see there's 2 shower curtains, and then there was a modification to put in a cubicle, a vestibule in front of the shower for privacy. If you are designing these, please pay attention to this. It's something that I think is very significant. If you have a shower curtain, then you simply go in the shower and you dry off. If you have a vestibule or a cubicle, then you enter in there, you disrobe, well, one disrobes, and then they shower, and then they dry off, and then they get dressed. The amount of time it takes that is used in both of those is very different. So although some people want more privacy than others, I would advocate for half and half so that you can speed things along. In the women's change room, all 3 have a vestibule, so there is no way of seeing who's waiting there. So this is the solution that we came up with. Once you've turned off the shower, why not call out us to ask out if anyone else is waiting. Lockers that we have are not day-use lockers. And in the research we did beforehand, the day-use locker was quite frustrating, because if you wanted to carry things like shampoo or an extra pair of socks, or in the hospital scrubs, or changing out of your clothes, the day use wasn't as much used to. So these are lockers that people have access to, and you've got as much ventilation as possible. And they're pretty good for having things dry over the course of the work shift. Inside, you can see that we provide towels, and that was relatively easy to do in a hospital environment that does have towel service within the campus. But you can also see how we had to change from the full-length lockers to half-length lockers for some of our lockers in the men's change room, because just there wasn't enough. So they're 15 and now there are 30. They're shorter, so it's a bit of give and take. There are still larger lockers outside of the change room for people to choose from. In the women's change room, we had 5 sinks on the left. We still have 5 sinks. If I could have done this differently, I would have had 3 sinks and had a larger countertop space. And that information is cut straight from people who are using this, and they say that, you know, if you just want to put up a makeup bag, you don't need the sink. So that's something for, you know, in the future, to have a little bit more counter space. You do not need to have that fully synced. Not a word, but you know what I mean. We have hair dryers, and there's I guess that's a pillar in that, I think. In the women's change room as well, and we have less room for it, but we're trying to put in a drying rack in the men's change room so that people can hang their wet coats. I took this picture on the day that it was pretty bright out, because on some days it's packed, it's loaded down with the coats that dry much faster than in our locker. Because this is in a second door security area, people are not worried about using their coats. There's a lounge in the cycling center as well. We added lockers that weren't there at the beginning, but we need more lockers. There's a small meeting room for different committee meetings or other people who use it, and there are yoga mats. So this is used individually for people who want to do some stretching before or after cycling. We had tried with classes, but there's just too difficult to schedule classes, so this is for individual use. But have something like this for stretching is very useful, especially with a society, a demographic of people who might benefit more from cycling, stretching. In the main area itself, we have a community board, we have a court board that we put up different events that are coming up, and you can put up anything related to cycling for sales. There's a handy reference number list that lists my number as a person they make contact if they need to, and different elements for security and maintenance, hotels, and housekeeping. There are tools there for people to use and workshops that help increase people's knowledge of how to use the tools. We have a truing station, which is not yet fixed to the wall, but when it is, we will have a workshop to show people how to true it is. And I say we have a mechanic who used to be someone on the hospital staff who used to be a mechanic and very keen to help out with workshops. Two things. On this page, there's a lanyard that says VGH Cycling Center, so this is a way of people recognizing across the campus who else is a cyclist. The feedback on that's been very good. That's a third run of lanyards. On the left is the beginnings of what the membership application is. So we try to respond, because this is not a free facility. Bike cages and the bike racks are free. This is not free. There are a small charge for this. So in terms of categorizing people, there are the temporary versus the daily riding. Pretty much this speaks for itself. The thing I would draw attention to is the supporter. So there are some people who use it very frequently. Sometimes people live really far or really close and they're not going to be using it all that much. But the benefit of the tune-ups and the tools and the workshops is useful, so that's what that role comes down to. And another version of what we have for short-term placement is for students who come to to VGH for certain elements of the training. It's only there for a few months. And then the annual part-time and full-time is because some medical staff work at 2 hospitals, and so therefore they're only paying a portion for being at VGH. In terms of pricing, it ranges from $333 a month to $1083 a month. A locker's $5 a month, just because of the limited supply. Now we're just coming to the end about a little bit about promotion area. So here's an before and after example. You don't get this with a bike cage, but with a facility you can ride in your cycling gear and leave ready to go. We hold events here. This is where on Monday morning, the Bike to Work week, we have standing off and have a cycle celebration station right outside the cycling center. We have a bike mechanic that comes there. We also have one that works inside the cycling center, so it's very convenient for people to lock up their bikes in this corner. Number 2 there, 3, 4, and what we've done is we've made, you can't see it, but these bike stalls are numbered 1 to 12, so that we can have people lock up their bikes in there for the bike tune-ups whenever we have those. And we have workshops that are held in the lounge or in the main area that, again, brings that sense of community, and we respond to the different types of courses that people are looking for. This is a list of yoga stretches for after your ride. This was done over a few periods in the cycling center and in the lounge. We have the Bike-a-Palooza, which is not on site, but it is one of the things that came from the cycling center, and it is hosted by the steering committee. And that's for that. We often give tours. If it's an individual tour, I don't do much about that. But if it's a larger tour, such as like a Palooza or an open house, there's signage letting people know that there will be non-members coming through, because people will often leave things hanging off their bike, coats and pennies and lights and such. So this is just to give people a bit of notice that there will be more traffic coming through the cycling center on a certain day. And there's a comment suggestion box. This is the only comment that hasn't been fulfilled yet. And that's as much as I need to say for now. So I'm going to hand it back to you, Erin. And we'll take questions.
Great, thanks so much, Arthur. So many good details that you went into on how to make end-of-trip facilities really highly functional. So that's excellent. And what a great learning opportunity for other buildings as well. So thank you. And think Jennifer was organizing if there's any questions that have been asked so far, but if you haven't yet, do be sure to add your questions into the toolbox through GoToWebinar so that we can see what you guys have to say. I actually also have a question for you all. I wanted to ask you one more poll about what information, tools, or resources you would find valuable to be able to better provide cycling end-of-trip facilities. So I'm going to launch that, but also keep thinking about your questions and plugging them in. So you can select from this list. We'd love to hear what you have to think. So I'll give people about another 30 seconds to complete this. Okay, and any last respondents? Go for it right now. Okay, and then I'll show you guys what you had to say. So we can see that lots of you would love to see a best practices guide, and we'd love to do that for a phase 2. So do let us know if you're available to collaborate with us on that. Next most popular was a case study documenting those best practices. Again, would love to be connected up with developers or other folks that are ready to take this on, and we can look at that full cycle analysis of what it takes and any of the challenges or opportunities that open up there. So do let us know if you want to be a part of that. And I'll just put up some contact information in case you do want to connect. Here's where you can touch base. Jennifer, do we have any audience questions?
Nothing yet.
So shy. Well, I had a question for Arthur. I'm curious to know, you've done quite a lot there and gotten into some good detail. What kind of post-occupancy follow-ups have you done, or what kind of evaluations to measure the success and then make adaptations?
Okay, so first thing that comes to mind is we did a satisfaction survey last December, and we basically wanted to know, well, just like in this call, we weren't getting a lot of questions, we weren't getting a lot of requests for anything new, so we wanted to prompt and ask people what they were looking for. Overall, people were very satisfied with what, oh, you said go to places, so I'll talk. Okay, so I'm looking at the results here. People were very satisfied. 65% said 5 out of 5 very satisfied, and then 15% said, oh, that can't be right, because that's all there was. Very 4 and 5 out of 5. In terms of, we also used that as an opportunity to sort of pledge allegiance to, I am diligent in ensuring that no one else enters the cycling center when I enter and leave, and the answer was yes, I do that, or no, I don't, and 100% said yes, I do that. So that part of it was useful. And the things that came up that people were looking for to improve had to do with the doors, how to make them a little bit more foolproof. And I say that because in the course of 3.5 years, twice the doors have failed. And when the doors fail, that's a problem. So we're looking at having a backup exit, entrance through the exit door. People want more showers, and we want more hooks and more places to dry things, but the real estate is pretty tight in there. And there was requests for a little bit more of loaning things, such as the loaner locks. That came up, and better servicing on the bike pumps, because there are 2 bike pumps in this facility. And there's a little bit about social rides and year-end events, but that's some people want that and not everyone. So that's something that is ongoing to some degree, but less of my feeling. But just this is a venue for it. The last thing that was asked for was because we represent 300 cyclists, there was a, if we were to look to purchase things in bulk, and the request was for high quality bike lights. So we have done that. We bought bike lights. Because we bought them at such a volume, we were able to get a good discount, and then we filtered in a little bit of discount as well, so we got a great deal on bike lights.
Great, thank you for that. And if you had to think this through, if you were building from scratch as opposed to retrofitting an existing building, which is what you did, would you think of any different considerations, or what would you try and keep top of mind if you were designing a facility from the start?
Well, my role with Vancouver Coastal Health looks at a variety of facilities, so I am looking at that at different hospitals in the Vancouver Coastal Health geography. And top of mind would be that we are not at the basement of a parkade. There is a new facility that does have a bike cage, and it's all the way at the bottom of the parkade, which means you have to ride past all the cars. So to keep it as close to the surface as possible would be a high priority. The not day-use lockers, but we managed to do that, and to have the showers nearby. Again, the bylaws will not tell you that they have to be nearby, but if you can, that's quite useful. I have to say that the cycling center is fantastic. I'm completely biased because I really like it and I like working there, and I get a lot of great feedback. I laugh when people tell me that that is one of the reasons why they may or may not want to leave Vancouver General Hospital and go to a different hospital, and that the people who turn down moderate promotions because this is just so convenient. The next most common response I've heard is how their spouse or partner is quite envious of the facility that they have, and their partner wished they had something similar. Which didn't answer your question, but I just wanted to get that up.
I think that's wonderful to hear. I love that people are actually using this as a reason to stick around. So it's certainly showing a retention value for attendants because they value this kind of cycling and a trip facility. It means enough to them that they're willing to forego a promotion.
Well, I need to clarify. These are moderate promotions that they won't. And so I've heard people who've said they've turned down a couple, and then it got to be such a promotion that they took it and moved away. So if it's a moderate promotion, right, it didn't seal the deal.
All right. Oh, good. Now, is anybody having trouble asking questions from the attendees? Feel free to just type something into chat to test this out and say hi, or where you're from, or even a comment if you don't have a question, or if you have an example from elsewhere, you think they're doing a good job. It could be in Metro Vancouver, or it could be elsewhere that you've visited where you feel like they have exemplary end-of-trip cycling facilities and you want to let us know about them. That chat box should just be over, usually to your right, if you see a little control panel arrow, in case it's being hidden right now. Arthur, did you have more that you wanted to add?
There's one more element that's not a physical aspect, but it's a community side of it. Every month I send out an email to the Cycling Center membership, which is not about renewal and it's not financial. And it's simply about the different events that are coming up or something that is pertinent. I have spoken with other cyclists who are not members of the Cycling Center, and they'll say, well, how come I didn't hear about this or that or the other thing? And it is because of that smaller sense of community that we could send out everything to everyone, but there is that element that people appreciate, and that's why when we said this is not just a bike garage, it's a place, it's a community for it.
Great. Yeah. Yeah, that's something that we've seen a lot too, is that the physical facilities are of course very important and need to be there to hold the bike securely and for showering and changing and all of that, but it is greatly augmented by some of the softer side of things, whether that's kind of education or whether it's a sense of community. I thought it was great to see some of the notes that you had around the cycling center talking about being considerate of others and making sure that people can make the best use of the space and of the resources that are there. So I think that's an important part of what would go into best practice guidelines for design, is to talk about some of the social interaction pieces, and some of it could be physical signage and some of it might be newsletters that go out, or designing some of that shared social space. It was great to see the chairs kind of out there that people can interact with one another, particularly because they have a shared interest. Now it looks like there's a question that's come in. Are there many best practice examples for end-of-trip cycling facilities that this research identified in Vancouver? So the ones that I talked about a little bit earlier in my presentation are some examples. I'll just pull that up again so you can see it. We didn't go through all of them, but in terms of commercial, I will just pull us over here so you can see it again. So this is Oxford Properties Group, and they've done a really wonderful job of adding additional facilities. So they've got those individualized lockers, they've got the clothes drying, all of which go above and beyond what the city requires of them. They're quite good in terms of what folks have done commercially, and a lot of people are looking to them as they create new office space. I know office space is in high demand right now in the city, so more is being built for sure. And then in terms of residential, here's the Ani example with additional bike repair space, including the tools that are there for people. And then that blue sky here, they've got the shared workshop, of course, as well as the bike wash, which is very helpful if you're in a multi-unit building and you don't have a lawn or your own garage and you need to clean and maintain your bike. So this is a great designated space where you can do that. And I think also both of these areas have some social benefit in terms of bringing together like-minded folks, so you can meet your neighbors or meet your coworkers as well.
I've got another question here. Are there any examples of these amenities being incorporated into public facilities, i.e. community centers?
That's a good question, and we certainly didn't dive into that in depth. But the city is quite interested in this. I know that they did a review of some of the schools. They wanted to make sure that there was better bike parking at schools in Vancouver. I think they're still at the knowledge collecting phase on that and haven't done too much of that. I know that at Hillcrest Community Center they were quite interested in looking into facilities there as well, but we don't have specifics on that information. If there's anybody from any of the cities, and if you're incorporating this kind of thing into public facilities, we'd love to hear from you, and feel free to make a comment in the chat box as well. It looks like there was another question. If anyone on the call is working on a public facility in Strathcona, is of particular interest? It doesn't sound like there is. And it looks like we are almost at the end of our time here. So do let us know if you have any last questions. Not seeing any. I just want to say thanks so much to Arthur Orsini for giving us all the details of the cycling center at the hospital, and we'd love to hear from all of you. So this webinar will be recorded. If you want to rewatch any of it, please do. The contact information is all there. Check out the report online as well, and share with your colleagues and friends.